So we're on the agency side. So agencies, we always get the information at a different time. So one of the things that we see from an issue standpoint when brands will come to us, first and foremost, the campaigns are disconnected from broader business strategy and brand values, okay? Second, a lot of the marketing is tactic-led over strategy-led. So I'll get into that a little bit more in a bit. Sales and marketing teams work in silos, and they're disconnected from each other, right? So this is common on our side from the agency. They'll be like, well, this is what we're doing for marketing. We ask the question, well, what's sales doing? Like, we gotta make sure that the two are working together, right? We're focused on immediate needs over long-term brand building, and then we're chasing trends. This is something that we see on the agency side so often. They'll be like, there's this really amazing trend, we should jump on it. That's not correct for every single brand. It doesn't always make sense. So some of the effects of these like common issues that we get on the agency side, right? So the marketing dollars aren't being used strategically to contribute to long-term growth. So what do I mean by that, right? So again, a brand will come to us and say, hey, we have this many dollars. We're gonna put a really great media influencer event together. Okay, great. So they're like, choose wherever you wanna do it, whatever venue, for example. The question we'll ask is, okay, what's the commercial strategy for like from an on-premise standpoint? Let's support that particular account so the dollars are gonna be able to nurture a relationship there, right? We're gonna spend the money anyway. Second, we're too focused on the how versus the why when it comes to putting together marketing. There's inconsistency in messaging. Let me tell you guys, doesn't matter the size of the brand. We've worked with global brands, small brands. There's always some level of inconsistency. Short-term thinking replaces long-term brand building and cultural relevance. And then again, when we were talking about trend chasing, right? So that example I showed, like that's obviously a terrible example, the ad got pulled. But what that really did long-term is it really made it detrimental and alienated the consumers for everybody, right? So now people don't have that trust in your brand anymore. And we live in cancel culture. So we have to be really, really mindful to make sure that things align and they also make sense. Okay, so now we're gonna get a little bit into what we have to do in terms of step-by-step, right? So we have something that we like to do at the agency called the values audit. So prior to building or executing a campaign, we wanna do a couple of things. First, we wanna identify the values. We do this every single time before we start any kind of marketing campaign, right? So we wanna understand, what does the brand stand for? What's the message we're hoping is gonna resonate with everyone, right? We're gonna audit the values. Is the brand still aligned with the original core values? Now, brands evolve, right? This is common sense for all of us, right? Like we know brands are gonna evolve, but there's so many times when we get on the agency side that we don't actually see those values evolving from what we're working on. So we really wanna work with brands to make sure that we're doing all those audits. And then the questions we ask, has it naturally evolved? And if it hasn't, does it need to evolve, right? And then we get into assessment. Is what it stands for still relevant and is it still timely, right? And does it still resonate in today's marketplace? All right, so now we're getting into what we call the audience assessment. Now, a lot of brands, again, when they come to us, we're like, who are we going after for this particular campaign? And the common answer we get, everybody. Okay, well, we can't talk to everybody with one campaign, right? Like consumers now, they want something that's tailored to them. We were talking about brand alignment. We want something that feels like it's a part of our lives, that it fits into it, right? So with that, we need to distill down this particular campaign. So who is gonna be the biggest consumer for this particular launch, right? Really distilling it down and thinking about that, right? You're coming out with a certain new product that has say you have a gin and now you have ashwagandha in your gin, for example, right? What are we trying to do with that? Are we trying to acquire some new customers who are into those benefits? Are we trying to bring them on board? We want to figure that out, and then we want to figure out exactly, tailor down who we're going to go after for this, right? Second, we're going to get into what we call audience alignment. So, do my audience and my values authentically align? Remember we just talked about doing that values audit, right? Now we've kind of looked at who our audience is. You have to ask yourself, do they actually match, right? Do they make sense? And then we go into proof over preference. So we believe they match. Is there any data out there, any data that is going to support what we're talking about, right? So I affectionately say this at the agency, which Brianna from my team will know. I'm like, is this a fact or is this a feeling, right? So we always want to understand that. And then you want to understand long-term, all this marketing activity I'm doing, all these dollars I'm spending, is this going to lead to growth or volume share in the category? Really important questions to ask yourself early on before you make those marketing spends. So then let's get into strategy and tactics. So this is something common that we see a lot. When we were talking a little bit about strategy, we want people to be strategy-led over tactic-led. So number one, tactics and strategy are often confused. We see this all the time. People will be like, my strategy is an influencer campaign. That's not your strategy, that's your tactic, right? That's your how, it's not your why. And it's really important to know that so that you have that foundation set early so that you can make sure you understand why you're doing what you're doing. It's so easy in marketing to get caught up in the tactics, but we really want to understand that why every single time. So here, just put together some kind of like top level notes for you guys. So strategy versus tactics. So overall plan for achieving a marketing goal, and then the tactics are the specific actions, right? Long-term and directional, short-term and actionable. Now then from there, we always say you gotta connect those dots, right? Number one, owning an occasion. Has anyone heard of this term? It's pretty common right now, at least on the agency side. Yeah, big believer in that. When you own an occasion, you just make it easier for the consumer. Like consumer data showed in 2021 that the average attention span of a consumer was, guess how many seconds? Anyone throw it out there? It was 8 seconds in 2021. So can you imagine what it is now, right? So knowing that, we have to make it easy for them. We can't be like, we're the brand for everything. It's not gonna be effective. That spaghetti on the wall approach just doesn't work anymore, right? So we wanna do that first and foremost. Second, big believer in what we call omni-channel strategy. So you're investing dollars in doing an event, for example. You know, you're centering it around an activation at Bar Convent Brooklyn, right? So you're gonna be doing a really great piece here for trade. What can you also do on the consumer side? What can you do on the retail side at the exact same time? So your buzz is kind of building all together. We call it a big wave over a small ripple instead. So you're creating this big buzz around one activity and you're owning that activity so you make it much easier for consumers. So think about it. You go to a retail store, you see an amazing, display, there's a tasting, oh, this is great. Now suddenly you go to another big event in the city, oh wow, they're popped up here too. Now you've already had 2 points of contact when you're still top of mind for the consumer. So it's really important to do that. So here was just kind of like a quick little example, just to kind of help really, pardon the pun, distill down strategy versus tactics. But really what we want to just get out of here is we want to connect those dots. Every single time our agency is putting together activity, we think about how is this going to contribute to connecting, to driving sales long-term. Most marketing agencies, and I will tell you because I owned one that was not exclusive to Beverage before, we don't think like that. So when we started this one, it was really important to help brands understand that we really want to make sure that marketing is connected to sales. And I'm not talking about like, we're doing an event, people are going to buy on the spot. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm saying like looking at it from that lens so we understand that. Okay, so getting into strategy now. This is one of the most important points. Effective marketing, it amplifies authenticity. It does not manufacture it. Okay, so again, effective marketing amplifies authenticity over manufacturing it. Today's consumer is so discerning with anything they're perceiving that's fake. You can have a long-term relationship with a consumer. You come out with something that feels fake and inauthentic, you lose that customer. So we work really hard to get them. We know that, right? So the kind of key points we want to have, number one, it's got to feel genuine. And that's why we always go back to that values, right? Like, does it feel genuine for the brand? Number two, does it build belief? Does it drive trust? Does it drive trial and loyalty when the brands are genuine? This is one of my favorites, converts stakeholders to storytellers. The best way to get your brand well known is for other people to say how great it is, right? So I can say my brand is great. If 50 other people say my brand is great, I've done my effective job with marketing. The other one, maintaining consistency. Again, we see this so often, right? So and this happens, especially like the bigger the brand, we see it even more so. Like one team is saying one thing, another team is saying another. again, consumers just don't have that attention span. So your marketing vehicles are effectively actually working against each other when the messaging is inconsistent. So again, super important to do that. And then all these things combined do what we really want them to do, which is build resilience when there's market fluctuations. When there's things happening in the market, inflation is high, we want people to continue to make the decision to buy our product, right? So that's what that'll do for us. So I'm gonna share a really fun example with everyone. Anyone here been to Miami Music Week? Yes, it's a time. It's a really, really fun week. So it's literally when like the top DJs in the world come to Miami and there's like party after party and event after event, and it is so much fun. So this was recently, I'm gonna use Duolingo. Does anyone here know Duolingo app? Yeah, okay. So the Duolingo Owl took over Music Week. So there's a really well-known club called Space Miami. I don't know if anyone's been there. So the Duolingo Owl actually showed up at one of the biggest events, which was John's Summit thing at Space. So you can see here, he's vibing, he's having a good time. He has other people bringing these little hats. People are now wearing these owl heads. It's organically becoming a Duolingo party without Duolingo sponsoring it. It doesn't feel corporate. It feels really cool and authentic. It's really, really fun for everyone, right? So let's talk about why it worked. Okay, well, first and foremost, it integrated into a timely cultural moment, right? It made sense. So one piece, I don't know if everyone here knows, but Duolingo has started to do music learning, which is why they wanted to participate in Music Week. It met the consumers where they are, showed up in a popular space in an engaging way. Like, can you imagine you're like vibing and having a good time, and next thing you know, the Duolingo, owl is next to you dancing, like so much fun. It expanded the brand without breaking it. Now, a lot of the time when brands are looking into acquisition of new customers, they forget their core. You have to find the balance of putting together a strategy that brings new customers over, but does not alienate your current ones. And that's really sometimes tough to do. And that's why you gotta go back to that values system and do your values audit. And then of course, it reinforced its brand personality. It's fun and it's engaging for everyone, which is what the brand stands for, and so does Music Week. So I just shared a little example here. So EDM Maniac is a social account. Do you think that if we reached out to them and said, hey, Duolingo has a music learning app, do you think you would have gotten that coverage? Absolutely not. So now you've just opened yourself up to a whole other audience that now has learned about who you are. So then the last kind of little piece here, and again, some of this might sound a little obvious, but we just see this so often when we're on the agency side, is there's not enough pressure testing. So the pressure testing is usually done at the end of the campaign, right? So how many impressions did we get? What was our engagement? How much content? But the problem there is that we're not able to be quick in making sure that we're hitting where the areas of issue are right away. So first, we want to have that proof over preference. So get those like checkpoints and those KPIs throughout the whole strategy so that you're really understanding it. The second is to incorporate sales and OP teams' feedback. What are they working on? How can we support them with these marketing pieces that we're putting together, these campaigns? Understanding their goals, it allows us to come at it with that lens. And then, of course, just evaluating resonance. So we put like a variety of different ones in here. It's just based on the brand we're working with and how they value things. But it can be engagement, impressions, PR and influencer. I personally love organic content. Like if we get UGC content, we know we've done something really, really well in my book because we're getting so much content that, again, everyone's talking about instead of us. And then, of course, at events and experiences. So common in our industry for experiential marketing, how many samples did we serve? That's the common benchmark. But it's more than that, right? Because if you're creating a world or a brand world for people to participate in, we want to understand like how long were they there? Did they actually engage with the brand, or did they just take a free little sample and then leave? So adding those like measurable outcomes really makes you understand how successful your campaign really is. And then last, paid media. Conversion rates is just a common one on our agency side that we see. But again, it just depends on like click-throughs, whatever we're working on at that time. So just again, the point here is just making sure that you're doing these tests throughout the process so you can see where you're tracking. And then last, if anyone wants to connect with me, this is my information here. This is a recent campaign that we did with Glenfiddich and Aston Martin. We're at the Grand Prix in Montreal, Canada, which is really fun. And we did like a whole bunch of different pieces, and then we did a pop-up in Toronto as well last year. So a really fun partnership, but again, the success of it was that it was layered into so many different places, you know? So we did a pop-up media influencer event to get content created. We invited key media to come to the paddock for a paddock experience. We had an activation in collaboration with Boss, where they had a really big party. So anyone we couldn't invite to the private dinner went to that event. We saw things in duty free. So it was really so big that anywhere you went, you saw that Glenfiddich and Aston Martin were working together. So thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to keep up with the latest beverage alcohol industry insights from Park Street University.